Hey there, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, my name is Katie and this is Louisiana Cooking and Living. And today we're going to be making some pickles. We are going to be doing bread and butter pickles and dill pickle relish. We got quite a few cucumbers coming in from the garden and we need to can them up somehow. So today we're doing those recipes instead of like a dill pickle. And I actually want to show y'all, let me go grab it real quick. So I made these pickled okra about a week ago with you guys, and I'll leave a card at the top if you didn't see that video and you're interested in pickled okra. And I was going to taste test them with you today. So since we're talking about pickles, we're going to try our pickled okra. Did you hear that noise? It means it's a perfect seal. If you can see, we have some jalapeno in here. I don't know if you can tell that. So these are going to be a spicy, garlicky dill okra. If you've never had pickled okra before, it's a good way to eat okra if you don't really like okra because it can get slimy. This keeps it from getting slimy. And here we go. That is better than I remember from growing up. That is good, y'all. I hope y'all give this a try. I haven't had lunch yet, so. A little bit of dill right back here. Dill was grown in the garden also. All right, let's get started on our bread and butter pickles. So the first thing I want to do is to get our brine together, and it can get boiling, then we'll chop our veggies. So in my pot here, I have 2 cups of sugar. And to this, we're going to be adding 3 cups of apple cider vinegar. I just get this apple cider vinegar at Costco. It's organic. I kind of give it a mix. It comes in a 3-pack for a really good price. So we're going to do 3 cups of this. And then to this, we're going to be adding 1 cup of water. Now, kind of for our spices or our seasonings in this, we're going to add a tablespoon of mustard seed. We're going to add 3/4 of a teaspoon of turmeric. This gives it a good color. I'm not going to add this one because I don't want to, well, I can wipe it off. So 3/4 of a teaspoon. We're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of celery seed. And the recipe called for, and I got this recipe from America's Test Kitchen, and it called for ground clove. I don't have ground clove. I have some whole cloves here, and I'm just gonna add 1 of these to each of the jars instead of putting it in our brine. So we're gonna move this over to the stove top, and we're gonna bring this to a boil. And while this boils, we'll get our vegetables ready. In the meantime, I also have over here my canning pot, and I have my jars in there, and so those are heating up also with our water so that when we can this, they are ready to go. So we'll chop our veggies now. So this recipe calls for 2 pounds of cucumbers, 1 onion, which I'm very excited. The red bell pepper I did not grow. I grew my cucumbers, these onions, and these cayennes. We're gonna make ours a little spicy. My son requested spicy. So we're gonna add these cayennes to our jars. And the onions, these I grew, they're kind of small, but I'm chopping up, so I was fine with leaving them small, or using the smaller ones. So 2 pounds of cucumbers, 1 onion, 1 red bell pepper, and we're gonna add the cayenne. So Let's just get these chopped up. The bell pepper, we are gonna leave it in slices. It's gonna be really pretty in the jars with our cucumbers. Now I am jarring these or canning these in half pints just because I'm not sure how much my family will eat at one time, but you can certainly do these in pints if that's what you wanted. Let me get a bowl to mix all this in. The same thing with the peppers. I'm going to leave my onions in slices. I don't know if I mentioned, I've got this recipe from America's Test Kitchen, and I will link their video below in the description box. If you haven't ever watched America's Test Kitchen, they test recipes over and over and over again, and equipment that you would use in your kitchen. And I really enjoy watching their videos. One of the things I learned watching this one for the pickles was to water bath them for a longer time and but a lower temperature, and that keeps them from getting mushy. So that's what we're going to do today. So in order to fit our cucumbers into our half pint jars, because they're regular mouth lids, I am going to cut the cucumber in half longwise and then slice it. But if you're doing you know, wide mouth jars, certainly you could just leave them whole. This cucumber smells so good. And they also talked about cutting off the blossom end, and I don't remember exactly what the rationale was behind that. They explain it in the video though. You can tell these cucumbers are on the vine a little long. The seeds are getting kind of big in there, but they will taste just fine. And these scraps will go to the chickens. I love cucumbers. When I eat cucumbers just raw, like this, I like to sprinkle salt on them. Do you put salt on your cucumbers? Is that just a southern thing? We also put salt on our watermelon. All right, for the cayennes, I am going to, maybe I'll cut them this way. I'm not gonna mix them in because I wanna make sure there's some in every jar. So this will make 8 half pints. I'll do 4 of them, half of them with the peppers in it. So I'm gonna leave those to the side. And then I'm gonna get out 8 cloves, 1 for each jar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, I'm gonna check on that brine now. Actually, we are gonna put salt on this. 2 teaspoons of salt. This will draw out some of the moisture, and we'll drain that moisture off. All right, we're gonna put this to the side and we will start working on our dill pickle relish. All right, so for dill pickle relish, we are gonna be using our food processor to chop up everything. These are onions I grew, garlic I did not, and cucumbers that I grew, but I don't have enough cucumbers today. And y'all know I've been trying to find things with my zucchini. So we are gonna sneak zucchini in here for part of our cucumber. So for this recipe, we need 6 pounds of cucumber. So again, I'm sneaking in this zucchini here. Again, our scraps will go to the chickens. Just gonna kind of cut this up into chunks to make it go easier in the food processor. I'm not gonna overload it because I don't want them to like turn into mush while it's trying to chop everything else. So I'm gonna do a little bit at a time. But to this, I'm gonna add my garlic. So I have a bunch of garlic here. We'll throw that in, we'll get all this, we'll put it in a bowl, and we'll move on to the next. So some of that zucchini did not get chopped, so we will pull that out and rerun that. Like I said, I don't want it to all turn to mush. Let me get a spatula. Those back in there with our onion. It says 1 large onion. I'm using the small ones here. Throw in some cucumber. All right, we'll run this and see what we look like. It looks like the pulsing works better because it allows the big chunks to fall down in between. That one's kind of big still. One of the recipes I've done with my zucchini is to make zucchini lasagna. So if you haven't seen that, I'll leave that in the card at the top here. That recipe turned out way better than I thought it was going to. All right, and to this, we are gonna add a 1/4 cup of salt. Let me get a measuring cup. You really want it to draw out the moisture in these veggies. So we're adding a 1/4 cup of salt. Woo! I was worried that was gonna happen. So this we're gonna let sit also while it draws that moisture out, and then we will drain this like our other ones. All right, in the meantime, we will get our brine together. Let me get all this cleaned up and we will get our brine together and get it cooking while we're waiting on those. All right, so we're gonna get our brine together for our dill pickle relish. I have 3 cups of vinegar in here. We are gonna add a 1/4 cup of sugar. It calls for 2 teaspoons of dill. I don't have like dill seed, I don't have that, but I have dill from my garden. So I'm just throwing all this in here. And I just, whatever I picked today, I don't even know how much it is. 2 teaspoons of mustard seed. 2 teaspoons of celery seed. And a 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric. All right, we're gonna bring this to a boil like the other. We're gonna let it cook for about 10 minutes. All right, we're gonna let that boil for about 10 minutes and we'll be back to strain our veggies and jar all this up. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we have our bread and butter pickle veggies here, and we're gonna dump them in the colander here to drain off the excess water. We're not gonna wash them off. We want that salt to go in the jar with our veggies. All right, these jars we're heating in our water bath canner, so they are warm and our brine is warm. Like I said, we're gonna put a cayenne in 4 of these jars. And then we're gonna add a clove to each of the jars. And now we're just gonna pack our veggies into our jars. Try not to touch the jars since they are hot. All right, I'm gonna go grab my brine to add to this and we'll get these filled. Actually, before I grab my brine, what I'm gonna do is these diced ones have a lot more moisture content that came out. And I'm gonna go ahead and dump this so it can sit and drain longer while we fill these jars. I am going to use the funnel for putting the brine in here. And we are going to leave a 1/2 inch head space on our jars. Right now we're going to debubble, which means we're just going to kind of go in there and make sure there's no air bubbles in there. You can use a chopstick. They sell debubblers. I'm using a butter knife here. That's a little too much for that jar. I'm gonna add a little bit more brine to make sure we're every 1/2 inch. All right, we've got our lids and rings on now. We have new lids here. Actually, let me clean my rims real quick. If you watch my top 5 canning items, this was one of them. This little dispenser, and it gets the vinegar on our paper towel to be able to wipe our rims. Because there's sugar in this, you don't want that to get between the jar and the lid. It'll might cause it to not seal. Now we'll put our lids on. Let me wipe this one since it's sat on there. Make sure there's no sugar on this. All right. All right, we'll put our rings on fingertip tight. Now the temperature America's Test Kitchen says to do is between 180 degrees and 185 degrees to try to keep them as crisp as possible. They also suggested using Pickle Crisp. I went to 2 different stores and could not find it, so I did not put that in here. If you found Pickle Crisp, they say 1/8 of a teaspoon per jar. So we'll get these over into the canner and then move our other clean jars over here to do our relish. So I'm gonna test the temperature on my water real quick. All right, I'm at 173, so I'm gonna turn this up a little bit. We don't need to go much higher. So now we'll pack these jars and get those in the canner also. All right, I am gonna use the funnel for this because of all the small pieces here. Give these a stir, make sure everything's draining. Just pack these in. Probably could have put some of that red bell pepper in here too. That would have been pretty with these. All right, we'll get our brine on these. Kind of settle in more than it did. So we will just move some of this over to our other jar. All right, I'm gonna put a little piece of this dill in each one also. Rings fingertip tight. Looks like I need one more ring. Check our temperature again. All right, the temperature dropped some. I'll bring it back up to 180 degrees and we'll let it go for 30 minutes. I'll just check the temperature every few minutes so we don't go over that 185 mark, and then we will be back. All right, y'all, these are our jars. We got 2, 4, 6 half pints of the dill pickle relish, and then we got 2, 4, 6, 8 of the bread and butter pickles. So I hope you give this recipe a try. Let me know if y'all do and what you think of the different flavor combinations. I didn't realize there'd be clove in a bread and butter pickle, but America's Test Kitchen, that's what they put in there. So we'll give that a try. So let me know what you think. And we really appreciate y'all watching and following along. If you haven't subscribed yet, we do lots of canning around here. Now that summer is in full swing, well, in Louisiana, summer's in full swing. We'll be bringing in all kinds of produce from the garden, and this is just a taste of what we have. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.